All right, those of you that just got here, happy Wednesday, happy hump day, middle of the week. A week from tomorrow, I turn in final grades, so make sure you contact me or turn in that late work. Let me know. Time is ticking, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. All right, warm up was to find the area of this circle. And so we all know, if we forgot, we can go up to our notes and say, what was that formula again? Don't have to memorize it. It's right here. Area equals pi r squared. Pi times radius squared. So area equals pi, which is 3.14 for short. Or if you want to use the pi button on your calculator, you can. So area equals pi r squared. And so if we look here, what's the radius? What's the radius of this? The radius is 15. 15. Why is it 15? Oh, someone said, wait, no. You're bad. What is it, guys? What are we seeing in the picture? What's 35? 35 kilometers is what? 35 kilometers is the diameter. Yes, very good. It's all the way across, goes through the middle. But we want the radius. The radius is only half of all the way across. So the radius goes from the middle to the end. And so that's half of 35, which is 17.5 kilometers. Great. So then we just do that. So we say area equals pi times 17.5 squared. And then we can do that a couple of different ways. We can just say, okay, let's do this using 3.14. So area equals 3.14 times 17.5 squared, which is 306.25. And if you punch that into your calculator, you get the area is 3.14 times 306.25. And that's 961.625 kilometers squared. Remember, you also square the units. So these are square kilometers. Remember, area is always how many squares can you fit inside the shape. But those of you are, Mister, I want to be precise. So those of you that want to be precise and exact, you will hit the pi button. So on your calculator, or let's see if it has it on Google Calculator. Let's see. Google Calculator. If you look here, they do have the pi button. See it right there? There's the pi button. So we're going to do, what was it again? 306.25 times pi. 306.25 times pi. So 306.25 times, and then I'm going to hit the pi button, pi. And then I hit equals, and I get 962.112750. So the area is pi times 306.25. And then so the area, when I punch it in, is 962.112750. Sorry. 962.112750. 1127. Oops. 50. Let's get more. Oops. Let's get more numbers. 162. 162. What's going on? What's going on, Pacheco? There we go. Sorry. 162 kilometers squared. So that's if you want to be more precise, you can use. Mister, yeah. Could I have done this? Could I have done this? Could I have done 306.25 and just put pi and then put kilometers squared? Could I have left it like that? Yeah, that's one way to do it too. To just leave the symbol pi there. But if we want actual number, we just do it that way. We can use 3.14 as a shortcut for pi, or we can use the exact pi if they have if you have that pi button. So yes, someone has a question. You can't unmute yourself because I am recording, but you can type it in the chat. me know. So what's your question? So again, I'll wait for him to type it because I bet you he's typing it in. If you just use 3.14 for pi, you will get that answer. Okay, let me pause the recording. All right, we're back. So the questions, there was two good questions. So let me recap those questions because now I'm recording. The first question was, what if I'm rounding and the number is a 9 and that kind of disappears or turns to a 0? What do I do then? So like, let's say we had a number like 362.98. Well, this 8, and you want to round to the nearest 10th because some people like to round. You can leave your answer like this with all these because the instructions don't say to round. You see the instructions? Instructions do not say anything about rounding. So if they don't say anything about rounding, you have the freedom to round to whatever you want. So you can leave it like this with all these decimal places or like this. But some people like to round to the nearest 10th. So they asked me, what if I'm rounding to the nearest 10th? And this is a 9 and this is an 8. This 8 causes this 9 to go up to 0, which causes this whole number to go up. What then? And I just told them that's fine. So this 9 becomes a 0, so you can leave it a 0. And then this whole number becomes the next whole number, 363. So you can put 363.0, or you're fine to just put 363. So that was the first question. And then the second question was, they had some confusion about circumference, which we're going to talk more about in a second. And their question was, with circumference, how do you know if you're going to put squared or not? And the answer is, circumference is not squared, right? Look at the formula. Look at the formula. The formula is just pi times diameter, or 2 pi times radius, right? Because 2 radiuses or 2 radii is a diameter, same thing. So nothing is being squared here. And circumference, if you remember, this is why we need to understand, right? Understand is the key. Circumference is just the distance around a figure. So if I'm looking at number 5, I want to know the circumference. I just want to know this distance, right? And if I cut the circle and I pretend this is a piece of spaghetti, right? This is a piece of spaghetti going around and around. If I cut it right here, I can stretch that spaghetti and it's just the length. That's all we're doing. When we're finding circumference, we're just finding the length of the circle. So there's nothing squared. When we're finding area, we're finding out how many squares can I fit, right? How many unit squares can I fit inside a figure, right? Because I want to know how much carpet or how much surface, floor surface to put in here. And so I get squared. How do we know it's squared? Well, look at the formula. The formula has an actual squared in it. Something is squared to the second power. And so when we square the 17.5, we're not just squaring the number, we're also squaring the units. So that's when kilometers get squared with this, because it's part of the radius. And over here for circumference, nothing's getting squared because circumference is pi times d. There's no square in the formula, and we're just finding a distance. All right, so those are two great questions. Are there any other questions about finding the area? What's the square for? Because that's what we called second power, squared. Because when you have something to the second power, it forms a square, right? You have 2 dimensions. Right? Like when you go to Home Depot and you want to buy tiles for the floor, you have to buy them in squares, 1 by 1 squares, and you want to know how many squares you need to put on the floor. You measure the length and the width of your room, and it's feet times feet, which is feet squared, and so that's how many square feet you have to buy. So square just means second power. Yeah, remember we had this discussion back in August? 2 dimensions, and then third power for cubes. That's 3 dimensions. When something's a cube, how many cubes can fit inside a 3-dimensional object? So for flat surfaces, we want to know how many squares, how many unit squares can we fit in here? Right? Pretend this is a circular room and we're trying to put tiles in here. Well, this is a huge circular room. That was years ago. That I know it seems like years ago, right? It was the beginning of this year, but it does seem like years ago. August seems like so long ago. So much has happened since August. Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, squared just means second power. All right, so let's talk about circumference. Everyone, any questions about area? Any questions about area? Just use the formula. Find the radius, plug it into the formula, work it out. How do you work it out? Well, you can use 3.14 for pi, or you can use the pi button. You may get two different answers, but they're very close. They're not that different. If you want to be precise, use the pi button. You'll get a more precise answer than if you use 3.14. Okay, if you're a scientist, you definitely want to use the pi button, because this little difference for a math student, not that big. For a scientist, huge, huge, huge. All right, so let's talk about circumference. Since we're looking at number 5, circumference. What is the formula for circumference? Well, there's two of them. Don't get confused. They're the same thing. Circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 pi r. They're the same thing because diameter and 2r are the same thing. We're just replacing, right? We're just replacing diameter with 2r. Yeah, I know we put the pi between the 2r. That's just something textbooks do. I'm sorry. You can put 2r pi. That's fine too. Or pi 2r. That's the same thing, right? You can rearrange it however you want. But yeah, so these formulas are the same. So depending on what you're given, just put it into the formula. So if you look at number 5, they gave me a radius. So guess what? I'm going to use this one. So my circumference equals pi times, 2 times pi times the radius, which is 7. Well, 2 times 7 is 14. So 14 pi. And that makes sense because if I extended this, that's another 7. This whole thing would be 14 millimeters. That would be the diameter. And that's what we would put there. So it's the same thing. So 14 pi. And again, if you want to do circumference equals 14 times 3.14, if you want to be just, quick and just put 14 times the shortcut 3.14 for pi, you get circumference equals 43.96 millimeters. And this is part of the question. Mister, what if I rounded and this 6 makes this 9 a 0 when it makes this a 4? So if you put 44 millimeters because you round, that's fine. That's fine. But if you're that student who wants to be precise, no, mister, I'm not going to round. I'm going to be as precise as possible. That's fine. If that's you, if you are a student who likes precision, circumference equals 14 times pi. So you would go to your handy dandy calculator and you would say 14 times the pi button and hit equals. You will get 43.9822. So let's go back. 43.9822 9715 03. And that's millimeters. Okay. Not too different, right? Not too different. 43.96. They both would round to 44, right? So you would say around 44. And that's fine. If this was your room, let's say you had a room that was a circle shape and you were buying carpet or tile for that room, you would round it to 44. You wouldn't go to Home Depot and go, can I have 43.9822971503 millimeters of fence? Actually, you're not doing the floor, right? You're going around. So you're putting a fence around your room. So you're not buying tiles. That was area, right? No one caught that. We're not, for this problem, we're putting stuff around. So if you wanted to put a fence around your room, or let's say it's a yard and you want to put a fence around the yard. Can I have 43.9822971503 millimeters of fence? They'll be like, you mean 44? I'm not gonna measure it that exact. And that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to be this exact for most things. All right, does that make sense? Are we good on circumference? Are we good on area? All right, I'm going to let you practice and get some of your homework done and to get some of you to catch up on some of your other stuff. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about what if I want to find the radius or diameter? What if I want to go backwards? What if I give you the circumference? Or what if I give you the area? can you work backwards and get the diameter or radius? And then if I give you the circumference, can you give me the area? Or if I give you the area, can you give me the circumference? Right? So we will talk about that tomorrow. But today, I just want you working with these formulas again. Can you find the radius? Can you find the area? Can you find the circumference? Get those down, okay? And then tomorrow we'll get a little more complicated and go work a little backwards and then work between the formulas. All right, sound good? All right, any questions on area or circumference? All right, there are no questions.